Hello everyone, it's Sylvie here. In today's video I'm gonna show you how I made this awesome zapper from the character Jinx from the game League of Legends. I started a new cosplay project. I will make the whole costume of this Jinx skin, Project Jinx. So if you don't wanna lose any new update in this project, I will invite you to subscribe on my channel. So let's start with Zapper. All the patterns I use in this video are available in the link in the description. First, I started cutting what will be the base of Zapper. I cut two of them in a 1 cm EVA foam and glued both together. If you don't find 1 cm EVA foam, you can always glue two 5 mm EVA foam together and it will become a 1 cm EVA foam. Then I started sanding this base. First, I started using a micro rectify. But how it was my first time trying to use something like this, I have a lot of trouble. And at some point, I just gave up and started using a sandpaper. After I finished sanding, the base turned out like this. After that, I cut what will be the detail of the cable. I cut two of them, one mirrored, in a 5 mm EVA foam. Then I marked where these pieces will be glued. Before glue, I sand the corners and with a pyrograph I made these details in the piece. Then I glue the pieces in place with contact glue. After that, I cut what will be the trigger in a 1 cm EVA foam. How the EVA foam I used had this texture in one of the sides, I sand this side to make the texture disappear as much as possible. And then I glue it in place with contact glue. Then I started what will be this part of Zapper. I cut two of this part in a 1 cm EVA foam, one mirrored. If you use my patterns, you will notice that some figures have the shapes a little bit different. I made some changes in the final patterns, for the pieces fit more perfectly. Then I cut what will be the barrel. I cut two in a 1 cm EVA foam, one mirrored. After that, I marked where the barrel will be placed in the other figure. And started cutting the corners and sanding to make more rounded. I made this in the two pieces. It was like this when I finished. Then, with a pyrograph, I made these details in both pieces. And then glue it in place with contact glue. After that, I picked up the barrel pieces and again with a paragraph I made these details. And then glue it in place with contact glue. Because I let the under piece rounded, the barrel become a little bit rounded too. For these pieces under and above the barrel, I cutted one of each piece in a 1 cm EVA foam. Like the trigger, I had to sand one side because of the texture. Then I drew the details in both sides and made the detail with a paragraph. After that, I marked where the pieces will be placed and glue it with contact glue. Then I cut what will be the detail in the back part of zapper in a 5 mm EVA foam. And glue it in place with contact glue. After that, I sanded it to make more rounded. Then I cut the last detail in a 1 cm EVA foam. And this specific piece was what made me change the pattern a little bit in the end. I glued this piece in the wrong side. You can see here how it is and how I glue it. Besides that, I had to fill the holes with EVA foam because the under piece was too short. I didn't realize it yet that this piece was wrong, so I continued. In a 2 mm EVA foam, I made the detail for the cable and glued it with silicone glue. To cover some imperfections, I used acrylic plaster. Then I started the primer. As a primer, I used white glue with a little bit of water. After 2 layers of primer, I finally realized that the piece was wrong. With a hot gun, I started to warm the piece to try to take out. After some time, I take the pieces out and send to take the glue out too. Then I cut the pieces again in a 1 cm EVA foam. And made all the process again, but now with the piece in the right side. After that, I sand the piece to make more rounded. And to cover all the EVA foam I had to fill into the hole, I covered with a 2 cm EVA foam. And now the base of zapper is officially ready. Then I continued with the primer until I reached 4 layers of primer. After that, I started painting the zapper with dark metal paint. After 2 layers, this part was ready. Then I started painting with light metal paint. This paint has a very bad cover, even after 2 layers didn't cover the color of the EVA foam. So I painted over it with white paint, 2 layers of white paint, and then I used the same light metal paint over it again. After that, with a black paint, I started making the details look more dark. I just removed the excess paint from the brush and passed it in the details and where I wanted to look darker. Then, with the light metal paint, I made these thin lines in the corners to look like it's shining, like real metal. In the end, it looks like this. After that, I started painting the last part with purple paint. And to make the details in this part, I used a lighter purple paint. To finish Zapper, I used a layer of acrylic varnish. And the Zapper is ready! If you wanna make your own Zapper, the link for the patterns are in the description. If you like the video, don't forget to like. And if you use my patterns or tutorials, tag me on social media, I want to see your work. If you like this kind of content, I invite you to take a look at the other videos on my channel. And subscribe to don't lose any new tutorial. So that's it for today. See you in the next video. Bye!